Hey everybody, this is Jazz from Journeys with Jazzy. This video is probably going to be a longer video, so just warning you ahead of time because I have a lot to say here. This is my daughter. This is Olivia. Say hi, Olivia. Yeah. Awesome. So, one of the big reasons why I've chosen keto over other diet methods is because of my history with food. There's no roundabout way of saying this. I'm keeping her here, she's cute. Until she decides to run away, which who knows when that'll be. So, I guess say I'm a survivor of anorexia and bulimia and depression, and I want to get into my story. This is something that I've actually been wanting to do for a really, really long time, and I've been wanting to write about it, but for now I guess posting a video about it is way easier. And I suppose the best way to do it is just to start from the beginning, and my son is coming. We are having corned beef brisket and bacon fried cabbage.
No!
You love bacon!
No!
You love bacon.
No!
You can just eat the bacon.
Alright, alright.
Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to get started on the story. So this started in high school, my junior year of high school. I didn't start becoming a good student in high school until pretty much the end of my sophomore year and my junior year. But things were not cool at home. Things were rough, and I'll leave it at that for now. I'm sure I'll get into more detail later. But I remember it starting, actually I do remember starting my senior year of high school. I had held off on taking all of my health and fitness classes. I think we had to take like 2 classes until my senior year because, in my opinion, they were jokes, right? So I took like this one health class to know how to weigh ourselves. And I hopped on the scale, and I was 5'8", same height that I am now. And I weighed, I remember specifically, I weighed 190 pounds. And I was mortified by this. 190 pounds, even though that summer I'd been like eating good and biking a lot, and I had actually lost weight, you know, over that summer. So like for my senior pictures it looked really awesome and all that. So what I decided to do, I decided to do like regular calorie cutting. I was going to cut my calories because that was the basic idea. You watch your calories in, you watch your calories out. I guess I calculated all like my BMR, BMI, all that stuff, made all the proper cuts, and decided, you know, 1,500 calories was the way to go. So, you know, I would come home, I'd have like the regular stuff for breakfast, like, you know, maybe like coffee before going to school, like a Diet Coke or a Diet Pepsi. Have lunch sometimes, or sometimes not have lunch at school. Some of my other friends weren't really eating their lunches either, and they'd basically like not eat all day. And I knew this is what they were doing because, like, you know when you don't eat all day, like you get a certain smell to your breath. Like I know at least one of my friends was definitely doing that, and it didn't help her at all. So I would come home, and Windsor Pilates had just come out during this time, so I would do like a Pilates routine. I would get the Tyson Select chicken strips had just come out at that time too, so I would take some of that, get some cheese, put it in a bowl, heat it up, put some sour cream. I was doing keto before I knew it was keto, and I would eat that, and that would mainly be my meal for the day. So I would eat it or miss it. But no matter like what I did with everything, I always tried to adhere very, very strictly to 1,500 calories. Doing it the regular way. Calorie cutting, eating foods within the numbers, and exercising. And I did this for a week. And after a week, I lost 2 pounds. And I was so thrilled. I was so happy with myself that I did it again. Because, you know, all good scientists have to replicate experiments to see if their results are valid. So I did it again, and I lost another 2 pounds. So me and my 16-year-old self said, well, if I cut my calories to 1,500 a week and I lost 2 pounds in a week, well, what if I cut it to 1,200 a week? Would I lose more? So that's what I did, and yes, I lost more. So things started getting a little out of hand from there, because from 1,200 I went to 1,000 calories. And over time, I restricted my caloric intake so severely that I was existing primarily on one meal a day, which would be a Diet Coke in the morning, probably nothing all during the day at school. Maybe I'd bring like a bag of carrots or a bag of cereal and eat that in class. Always during my history class. I had such a crush on that teacher. But I'd come home and I'd always eat dinner to try to keep my mom from suspecting anything. But I would never eat the carbs. So again, I was kind of doing keto, like before I even knew I was doing keto. But everything that I was doing with a severe calorie restriction and then later the excessive exercise was from a place of self-loathing and self-hatred. You see, my home life wasn't perfect. I'm the oldest out of 6 children altogether. You know, my mom had a live-in boyfriend who I did not get along with at the time. Pair that with being an empath and not knowing you're an empath, which is somebody who's very sensitive and can feel the feelings of others very easily. I had a really, really hard time reconciling that. So I was very emotional in that house. I felt very misunderstood. I felt that kind of nothing I could say to anybody would or could make anyone understand how I was feeling. My attempts to do so gave me kind of crazy looks and unnecessary lectures from people. So I just kind of kept everything inside and in myself, and at home I felt completely out of control. Ooh, I felt completely out of control at home. However, I knew that there were 2 things that I could control. I could control my grades, and I could control the food that was coming in and out of my mouth. So, needless to say, I did really well my senior year. I did really well my junior year also. But my eating habits weren't awesome. She's not usually wound up like this. She's tired, so, you know, toddlers get tired. They kind of go crazy until they pass out. So I'm going to let her have her moment. Alright, so we're at this place where I'm doing really well at school. Socially, I have my group of friends. I've never been the person who's ever made any real lasting friendships. It's not that I dislike people, and I'm not totally antisocial. Like, I love doing this. I love interacting on social media and things like that, which weren't really around when I was in high school. But in being very sensitive, it was very hard for me to have and build authentic relationships, because it was kind of hard for me to really get to know people the way that I need to get to know them in order, you know, for me to have friends. So it's kind of me existing in this high school world where I'm putting all of my efforts into my schoolwork and all of my efforts into my eating lifestyle. And I'm not paying any attention really to myself, self-care, self-love. Everything I'm trying at home to reconcile the situation at home is not working. I am feeling like a failure. I'm feeling worthless. I'm feeling terrible and extremely misunderstood. And the feeling of hopelessness that comes over you is so extreme that you just feel like you are in a cardboard box, which should have flaps that allow you out, but there are no flaps. So you just sit in the corner and you just deal with it, and then you're upset that you have to deal with it, and then you accept it, and then you're upset that you accept it, and then you're upset at the fact that you're upset that you accept it. So it was kind of like this never-ending spiral into this really funky, deep, dank depression. And it wasn't until close to the end of my senior year that I got an official diagnosis for massive depressive disorder. Before this, my mom would make attempts. This is a really heavy subject, so I really do like having her here because it like makes me feel good. You know, there were attempts for my mom to talk to me about it. I want to say they were futile. I'm sorry, Mom, if you're watching this. But I definitely remember conversations we've had where I said, I hate my life. I hate everything. I just want to disappear. And it was kind of like the advice was take a deep breath, have some tea, calm down. But the problem was so much deeper than taking some deep breaths and having some tea would fix. I needed apologies. I needed my voice to be heard. I needed to be understood. I needed some freedom. Because I was rebelling. I was rebelling in certain ways. So I would do things like talk to guys that I shouldn't have been talking about, being more interested in sex than I probably should have been interested in that age. I was just trying to gain some kind of semblance of independence outside of school and my developing eating disorder. So around the point where I was severely restricting my calories, I got down to 0 calories a day, and I would do this every Monday. The goal was fasting Mondays, no calorie consumption whatsoever on Mondays, water, diet soda. I would consider diet soda a treat. I would have these crazy ways of thinking. Of course, it's crazy in hindsight, but then I felt this was the stuff that was pushing me through, that was getting me through all of my pain. This is what was helping me. I had an uncle who passed away, and when he passed away, he left me a gold necklace. And I would do things like, on Mondays I would wear the necklace and say, I'm doing this for you, for my dead uncle, as an excuse not to eat. Remembering a comment that he made to me before he passed away when I asked him to buy me a pair of jeans and I was 14, and he said, okay, I'll buy it for you if you promise to lose some weight. And I smiled and I said yes, but that hurt me. It hurt me a lot. I didn't really start getting heavy until I hit puberty. And when I was in middle school, I guess you could say I was weird. I don't know. Maybe I've just always been weird. I don't know. But kids would call me Beast in the hallway. It's painful thinking about it, but I can think about it in a different way now, which makes all the difference in the world for me. So I've had a lot of problems with self-image and confidence, and kind of pair that with the home environment where not the nicest things were being said to me. I definitely wasn't feeling, you know, the nicest things. I was picking up on a lot of negative, almost resentful energy, mainly from my mother's boyfriend, you know, now husband, who to this day has never apologized, has never acknowledged, you know, anything he's done. My mother was constantly apologizing for him, which made me feel sorry for her because, you know, she was being put in the middle of everything, and I had such a hard time just coming to grips with my own emotions. I couldn't even vocalize anything to say other than telling her I hate him. I hate him. And I'm not gonna, if he's watching this, you know, I can't apologize for that because that's how I felt. As I've grown older, I've learned to understand why I felt the way I felt, and I've learned the lessons in that. And I forgive you, I forgive him, and I forgive myself, too. I forgive myself. Ah, fuck. That is liberating. Okay, so, with the excess calorie restriction also came excess exercise, so I would do Pilates every morning, pretty religiously. I would do things like I would walk home. I would walk home from school, and my school was in another town. It was a long ways away. We're talking maybe a 2-3 hour walk. I'd walk home. I did that a couple times. That's wacky. Eventually my energy started draining, obviously because I wasn't eating anything. My body was eating away the lean muscle mass, and I used to throw shot put and discus for school track team. I feel so good after that little forgiveness spill. And eventually I had to quit that because I just didn't have the energy to go to practice anymore. You know, after a while, the anorexia became a little bit too much to handle, and I would do things like have little binges here and there, where I would go throw up in bags and hide the bags in my room and hide the bags in the basement. I would do that at my mom's house. I would do it at my dad's apartment. And I would have strategies for binging, and I'd have strategies for purging. And then my anorexia turned into full-blown bulimia. And I was at a point where I was losing a pound a week, and I was so happy with myself. I was so proud that I could accomplish this goal that I had set out for myself, and that I really had a full realm of control with this. My relationship with food was a love-hate relationship. I wasn't looking at food as nutrition. I wasn't looking at food as a way to gain some kind of satiation. Food tasted good, but food was a vehicle for control. And I remember being told by my therapist that I actually qualified as a substance abuser because I was abusing food. I thought it was crazy at the time, but man, I was crazy at the time. Absolutely, I was abusing food 100%. My relationship with food was so fucked up. So fucked up. So, you know, I graduated high school at around 150 pounds. I think the lowest I ever got was like 147 pounds. And that might sound average for a normal person, but for me, at 150 pounds, you could see the bones in my back. And I remember my friend Onika in high school, this is a funny like empath story, or I guess you can call it really a clairvoyant stories. I have a lot of I guess you say psychic stories or whatever. But you know, we're graduating, we're at the graduation. I say to my friend Onika, we're leaving, and I was like, I'm never gonna see you again. And she was like, oh yes you are. I never saw her again. This is in 2005. This was a while ago. Never saw her again. So where was I? High school, you see the bones out of my back, and my friend Onika, I remember her saying one day to me, she was like, Jasmine, you have to stop losing weight. I can see the bones in your back. And I smiled. First of all, I do have this weird like kind of tick thing. I say weird, but I really embrace it because it's me, and I love me now so much more than I used to. I'm so much more compassionate with myself than I ever was before. I was so self-destructive, and I thought that was the greatest compliment I could ever get. I thought it was great. I remember this other girl, Mary. I remember one day she told me, she was like, you know, you shouldn't lose too much more weight. And I was like, why? She was like, because like your head isn't really proportionate with the rest of your body when you get too skinny. So touche, Mary. That was a really excellent comment. And even now with my keto journey, I'm capping it. My goal is 200 pounds, which is 10 pounds heavier than when I thought I was fat in high school. So go frickin' figure. Over the summer after graduation, my eating habits continued, and when I went to college, they did continue throughout my first semester. I was still severely depressed. I stopped going to the therapist. Even when I was going to the therapist, I was just kind of telling the therapist whatever I thought, you know, she wanted to hear. I wound up getting a prescription from a psychiatrist for Prozac, and I took that for a little bit, you know, when I was in high school and when I was in college. I took it for my first year of college, I think, and then for my second year, for my sophomore year of my undergrad, I took myself off of it because I hated the way it was making me feel. It just made me feel like a zombie. I couldn't feel any feelings, and it almost made me miss being depressed because at least when I was depressed, I felt something. So I just had this kind of fucked up relationship in my head with everything. So I took myself off of that, got myself a job, got myself a boyfriend, And mind you, during my freshman year of college, even with the eating disorder and depression and just not really managing it and discovering alcohol and partying and drugs and all the other stuff that comes with it, I actually wound up almost losing my scholarship.
Dinner is done.
It'll be done in 1 hour. He's gonna eat it. Him and I, he's very, very picky. So he can pick the bacon out and have a sandwich. Anyway, yeah, I wound up almost losing my scholarship. I had to actually like testify before like a committee like over the summer or something and like prove to them I was depressed and all that other stuff in order to get it back, and I got it back. So you know, sophomore year, started getting some more control over my life, started doing my own thing, and slowly but surely my eating habits started changing. I started gaining weight, things started getting better, my mentality started getting better. But like I said, I took myself off of the Prozac and then I started smoking cigarettes. And smoking cigarettes combined with eating garbage and drinking a lot, as was the custom and the culture that I surrounded myself with as an undergrad. So I transferred, and I transferred to a different university, and anorexia was not a problem. Bulimia was really no longer a problem. I was eating normally. I was at a steady weight. Most of my focus was on my academics. I was studying things I actually loved. I had the same boyfriend. I had a job. I had my independence. I had control over my life, and that felt really good. But my self-concept was still crappy. The depression kind of never went away. I would have periods where I would have suicidal thoughts. That did happen to me. But a funny story, I'd kind of like be sobbing, like feeling sorry for myself, and I'd be like, well, you know, why should I stick around? You know, why can't I just disappear? Why can't I just like take a trip to like freaking Tibet? I used to always say Tibet. I want to go to Tibet and just like never come back. And the voice would always say, your children. Like before I even had like my kids, it was always, you know, your children, you got to be here for your children. It was like, okay. And for some reason that actually meant something to me. Me, the person who my whole family, you know, and even myself didn't see me as a maternal person, because everybody had their opinions of me because I could never express properly really who I was, and I also felt that if I did, no one would really listen. So, you know, things were fine as, you know, undergrad. Junior year, I had this weird roommate situation. I actually spent 5 years as an undergrad, so I had like 2 junior years where it was very, very stressful. Again, not being understood by my sweet mates, being bullied. I've been bullied a lot, and sometimes, you know, I think there's more to it than just like being an empath and stuff. But maybe I'll talk about that in another video, because that's also something that none of my family members want to acknowledge. So, and I took that out on my body yet again by severely restricting my caloric intake, but not necessarily by counting carbs. I would just keep things very stringent. So I'd have one certain type of thing in the morning, and then one certain type of thing for a late lunch, and then I'd go jogging and running, and I lost a lot of weight really quickly. But I was upset, and I was taking it out on food. So once again, substance abuse, but then with the food. You know, the realm of getting better and being cured from all this, it took a long time. It really took a long time. This was not something, the